The space beyond the Andros sector was quiet. Stars glimmered in the distance like cold fires, and only the soft hum of the Imperial Border Patrol ships disturbed the silence. Commander Raylan stood on the bridge of the patrol ship Vigilant Star, reviewing a routine scan. His crew expected another uneventful watch, just like every other day. Then the alarms began to sound. Unidentified energy surge, bearing 049 Mark II. The sensor officer announced, his voice tense. It's not like anything in our database. Raylan turned toward the main display. In the empty stretch of space ahead, light began to twist. It was not the bright flash of a jump drive exit, nor the shimmering portal of an Imperial transit gate. It was something else, something raw. The fabric of space bent inward, forming a whirlpool of black and silver light. A shape emerged. The ship was long and angular, dark gray in color, with edges that seemed designed for both speed and defense. It carried no visible insignia, no Empire markings, and no known alien symbols. The surface of the hull shimmered faintly, as if a shield field was already active. Magnify, Raylan ordered. The image grew larger on the screen, revealing lines of strange metallic plating and weapon ports along the sides. His officers murmured in confusion. "What class of vessel is that?" asked Lieutenant Vero. "It's not in the Imperial Navy Registry," replied the tactical officer. "I'm cross-checking against all known alien fleets, no matches." Raylan's mind raced. A ship of that size and unknown design appearing here, in the heart of border space, was no accident. It could be a scouting craft from a rival power, or a forgotten remnant of a pre-Imperial fleet. "Open a channel," Raylan said. "We need to make contact before this turns into something worse." The communications officer sent out a standard Imperial greeting. A moment later, a reply came through, but it was not in any Imperial dialect. The voice was calm, precise, and entirely alien to their ears. "Translate it," Raylan said. The translator systems worked quickly, piecing together fragments of meaning. The message played again, now in heavily accented Imperial Standard. "This is Captain Mira of the Human Vessel Iron Will. We seek peaceful contact. Do not approach without permission." The word human caused a stir across the bridge. Raylan froze. That word belonged to old history, very old. According to Imperial archives, the human race had been destroyed over 1,000 years ago during the War of Expansion. There were stories of their stubborn resistance, their unusual tactics, and their refusal to surrender. But in the end, the records claimed they were wiped from the stars. "Humans," Vera whispered. "That's impossible." "Nothing is impossible until you see it," Raylan replied quietly. He studied the vessel again. Its design was unlike any human ship from the old records, yet the name Ironwell felt fitting. The Empire's ancient reports had always described humans as determined, resourceful, and unwilling to bend to authority. "Send them a request to board for inspection," Raylan ordered. The reply from Ironwell was swift and firm. "Request denied. We do not allow foreign boarding. Parties, maintain your distance." Raylan leaned back in his chair. This was not going to be simple. He considered calling for reinforcements, but that would mean alerting the capital. The Empire did not like surprises, and this was the biggest surprise he had seen in his career. Inside the Iron Will, Captain Mira stood on her own bridge, looking at the patrol fleet ahead. Her crew was uneasy. This was not where they were supposed to be. Their last jump had been meant for a distant human colony in the frontier reach. Instead, their experimental drive had thrown them into an unknown sector filled with alien warships. "How many ships?" Lieutenant Mira asked. "For patrol cruisers, Captain," replied her officer. "A tall man named Jonas? They're keeping formation, but have their weapons charged." Mira nodded. She had expected that. Any cautious commander would prepare for the worst when facing an unknown vessel. "They'll want to know what we are," she said. "But we're not here to start a war. Keep shields on standby and railguns cold. We won't fire unless they force our hand." She had read old logs about the Galactic Empire, at least. Fragments recovered from human data cores that had survived the Exodus centuries ago. The Empire was vast, powerful, and unyielding. If this truly was Imperial territory, Their situation was dangerous. On the Vigilant Star, Raylan studied his tactical display. The human ship's weapons were powered down, but its shield readings were strange. The energy pattern was far denser than anything in Imperial design, and the heat signature from its engines suggested immense power reserves. They're holding position. Vero said, "No signs of aggression." "Good," Raylan replied. "But that doesn't make them harmless." He opened a secure channel to the nearest Imperial Sector Command. "This is Commander Raylan. Border Patrol Unit 72. We have encountered an unidentified warship of unknown origin. The crew identifies themselves as human, requesting immediate analysis and possible reinforcements." The acknowledgement came back with a delay. The Sector Command wanted him to keep the human ship in place until reinforcements arrived. Raylan closed the channel and stared at the screen. Something deep inside told him this was bigger than just an unusual patrol report. If these humans were real, and if they had survived in secret for all these centuries, then the balance of power in the galaxy might be about to shift. Minutes passed. Neither side moved closer. The Iron Wolf floated like a silent predator, its hull reflecting the faint light of a distant star. The Imperial cruisers kept a careful distance, forming a loose net around the vessel. Then something unexpected happened. The human ship began transmitting again, not just a short message, but a long signal in an ancient human language. The words meant nothing to the Imperial crew, but the tone carried a strange gravity, as if the speaker was invoking history itself. "What is that?" Raylan asked. The translator struggled to keep up. After several moments, a partial meaning emerged. "We are travelers. We are survivors. We come with strength, but not with malice." Raylan's expression tightened. He did not know if he could trust them in the Empire. Strength was always a threat, even when cloaked in peaceful words. But he could not ignore the feeling that this was only the beginning. Far away, in the dark heart of Imperial space, the report from Raylan's patrol began its journey up the chain of command. By the time it reached the highest levels, decisions would be made, decisions that could bring the Empire into direct conflict with a race it thought long gone, for now. The Iron Will and the Vigilant Star watched each other in the silent void. To ships from different worlds, linked by the shadow of a past neither side fully understood. The Iron Will drifted in the cold emptiness, its systems alive with quiet hums and blinking lights. Captain Mira stood near the main viewport, her eyes fixed on the four Imperial patrol ships keeping their cautious distance. She knew this was not a simple encounter. The last jump had thrown them far from their intended course, and now they were surrounded by unknown warships from a civilization that, according to human history, had once nearly destroyed her kind. Her communications officer, Lena, adjusted the translator settings. "Captain, we have partial understanding of their language now. The structure is similar to some ancient records we recovered from the Ark archives. But there are changes, probably the result of 1,000 years of evolution." "Good," Mira said calmly. "Prepare a reply in their standard form, but make sure we keep it simple. No complicated terms that could be misunderstood. We don't want them to take our words as a threat." The first message Mira had sent had been short and direct, asking for peaceful contact. Now, she would make it clear that their presence here was not an act of aggression. Still, her instincts told her that these Imperial commanders would not trust easily. She had studied their reputation from fragments of lost history: disciplined, ambitious, and always hungry for control. Lena sent the new message. It repeated their identity and intention to avoid conflict, but also carried a warning: do not approach without permission. Across the void, on the Imperial patrol ship Vigilant Star, Commander Raylan listened to the message through the translator. "Feed." The words were calm, the tone level, yet the warning was firm. Whoever this Captain Mira was, she was no fool. She was showing that her ship was ready to defend itself without making the first hostile move. Raylan turned to his tactical officer. "Status on their weapons? No visible changes." The officer replied, "Their weapons remain powered down. Shields are still active, but at moderate output. Engine heat is minimal. They are holding position exactly where they came out of the distortion." Raylan nodded. "They are being careful." That means they're not reckless. But it also means they're watching us just as closely as we watch them. The comms officer looked up. Sir, Sector Command has acknowledged our report. They're sending reinforcements under Admiral Torvik. Estimated arrival time 3 hours. Raylan frowned. He knew Torvik's reputation. The Admiral preferred direct confrontation to careful negotiation. If Torvik arrived and saw an unknown warship, especially one from a race thought extinct, he might act without hesitation. Raylan decided to buy time until then. He sent another message to the Iron Will, requesting identification details and offering to share navigation data. It was a small gesture, meant to test their willingness to cooperate. On Mira's bridge, Jonas scanned the incoming message. They want our ship classification and charts of this area, he said. It's a reasonable request, but they might use the information against us. Mira considered the options. Giving them details about the Iron Will's capabilities would be foolish, but refusing entirely could make them think the humans had something to hide. Send them partial data, she decided. Give them our name, class type is long range, exploration vessel, and basic navigational charts from our own systems. Leave out anything about our weapons or internal systems. Jonas sent the reply. Mira knew the Imperial commander would see through the omission, but at least it showed an effort to cooperate without revealing critical secrets. Meanwhile, Raylan read the human message with interest. The term long-range exploration vessel could be true, or it could be a polite way of saying warship. The design of the Iron Will suggested both speed and heavy armor. Raylan suspected that this ship, whether built for war or not, was dangerous. Hours passed with both sides exchanging short, cautious messages. The tension on both bridges was heavy but controlled. Neither commander wanted to make the wrong move before reinforcements arrived, or before they could fully understand the other. Then, as if to break the slow rhythm of this silent standoff, the Iron Will's sensors detected a faint movement in the distance. Captain, Lena reported, I'm picking up a small vessel approaching at high speed. It's not one of the patrol ships. It looks like a civilian cargo hauler, probably heading along its usual route. Mira glanced at the tactical screen. Any signs it's armed? To no, Jonas replied. Basic shielding and minimal defense turrets only. Mira frowned. If it passes between us and the patrol ships, it could be caught in crossfire if things turn hostile. Raylan, seeing the same blip on his own sensors, quickly sent a warning to the hauler, instructing it to alter course. The hauler acknowledged and veered away, but not before sending a short message to the patrol ship. Sir, the comms officer said, the hauler's captain says he saw the strange ship and is reporting it to nearby traders. Word is going to spread. Raylan sighed. That was inevitable. Once traders began talking, news of a mysterious vessel would travel across the sector in hours. By the time Torvik arrived, half the outer colonies might already be whispering about the return of humans. Inside the Iron Will, Mira understood what that meant. The Empire would not allow a rumor like this to spread unchecked. It would bring attention from not just their military, but also from political factions and other alien powers. She looked at her crew. We stay calm. If they wanted to attack us immediately, they would have done so by now. But when their reinforcements arrive, we must be ready for a different kind of conversation. Jonas nodded. What do you think they'll do? They'll test us, Mira said. Not just our weapons, but our resolve. And we have to show them we are not easy prey. The hours ticked by until the first readings of the incoming Imperial fleet appeared on both ships' sensors. Admiral Torvik's flagship was larger than any of the patrol ships, flanked by 2 cruisers. Its weapon energy readings were far above standard levels, showing it was already prepared for battle. Raylan stood stiffly on his bridge as the Admiral's voice came through the channel. Commander Raylan, stand by. I will take control of the situation. Yes, Admiral, Raylan said, though he felt a knot of concern in his chest. On the Iron Will, Mira watched as the massive Imperial flagship entered visual range. The sight confirmed her fears. The Empire was not here to talk. She had faced many challenges during her years in command, but this one would require not just skill, but absolute control over her crew's reactions. Battle stations, she ordered quietly. Weapons remain offline, but shields to full. We let them make the first move, in the silence before the next exchange. The human ship and the Imperial fleet faced each other across the black void. Two powers separated by 1,000 years of history, both wondering if this meeting would end in peace or in fire. The arrival of Admiral Torvak's fleet shifted the balance. In the empty stretch of space, the Imperial flagship loomed like a dark fortress, its armor plates glinting under distant starlight. Flanking it were two heavy cruisers, each bristling with weapon banks and shield emitters. The patrol ships under Commander Raylan's command moved aside, forming a wide perimeter. Inside the Iron Will, Captain Mira studied the formation on the tactical screen. She could feel the change in the air on her bridge. Her crew understood that the moment of decision was close. Admiral Torvak's flagship is locking scanning beams on us, Jonas reported. They are mapping our hull, reading power output, and checking for weapon systems. They will not like what they find, Mira replied. Hold position, shields at full strength. No weapon activations unless I say otherwise. Her voice was steady, but inside she was running through every possible move. The Iron Will was strong, but this was the center of the Empire's military power. A wrong action could bring the full force of the fleet down upon them. On the Imperial flagship, Eternal Spear, Admiral Torvik sat on the command chair, eyes fixed on the display of the human vessel. He was an older man, but his presence carried the weight of decades in the Imperial Navy. Interesting design, Torvik said. Hull composition unknown, shield density higher than standard. No obvious weaknesses, and yet they claim to be. Explorers, I do not believe them. The tactical officer nodded. Admiral, our records confirm that the term human appears in pre-imperial history, but the race is listed as extinct. If this is a true human ship, it should not exist. Then, we will see what they are made of, Torvik replied. Prepare the forward assault wings. We will test their defenses. Commander Raylan, still aboard his patrol ship, heard the orders over the fleet channel. He stepped closer to his comms officer. Send a private channel to the Eternal Spear. Request to delay any aggressive move until more information is gathered. The comms officer sent the message, but the reply came back cold. Your request is denied, Commander. Stand by and observe. Raylan's jaw tightened. He knew Torvak's style. The Admiral did not believe in long negotiations with unknown forces. To him, strength was proven only through direct confrontation. Back on the Iron Will, Jonas spotted the incoming attack. Multiple small craft launching from the flagship. They are on attack vectors. Mira gave her orders without hesitation. All hands to battle stations. Defensive systems active. Do not fire until fired upon. The Imperial fighters approached in tight formations, their engines glowing bright against the black void. When they closed to within a few thousand kilometers, their weapons lit up, streams of energy bolts streaking toward the human vessel. The Iron Will's automated defense systems came alive. Railgun turrets pivoted with incredible speed, locking onto the incoming craft. The first volley was a blur 3. Fighters vanished in a flash as solid projectiles tore through their armor. Others tried to break formation, but the targeting AI anticipated their moves, firing precisely where they would be, not where they were, on the Eternal Spear. Torvik leaned forward in his chair as his display lit with damage reports. They destroyed 5 of our craft in less than 10 seconds? That is impossible. It appears they have predictive targeting algorithms far beyond ours, the tactical officer said. Their reaction speed is unnerving. Torvik frowned. So, they are not just explorers. Increase the pressure. The remaining Imperial fighters circled, trying to attack from multiple angles. The Iron Will rotated smoothly, using thrusters to keep its strongest shields toward the enemy. Every incoming wave of fire was met with rapid counterstrikes. Even when the Imperials managed to land hits, the human shields absorbed most of the damage without flicker. Jonas reported from his console. Shields holding at 97%, minimal hull damage. Enemy losses at 12 fighters destroyed, 7 retreating. Hold fire. Mira ordered once the fighters began pulling back. We've made our point. Let them decide if they want to continue. There was a tense pause. The Imperial fighters were grouped at a safe distance. The Eternal Spear did not send another wave immediately. Both sides seemed to be taking measure of one another. On the Imperial flagship, Torvik paced slowly across the bridge. This ship is dangerous. We cannot let it roam freely in Imperial space, but we also cannot destroy it easily without risking heavy losses. Raylan's voice came over the fleet channel. Admiral, the human ship did not pursue our retreating fighters. That suggests they are defensive, not seeking battle. Torvik gave a short, dry laugh. Or they are luring us into a false sense of security. Still, the Admiral was a strategist. He knew that pressing too hard might reveal weakness on his side. He ordered the fleet to hold position, but maintain full combat readiness. On the Iron Will, the crew returned to standby alert. The atmosphere on the bridge was a mix of relief and readiness. They had shown their strength without escalating to a full-scale battle. But Mira knew that Torvik was not finished. Captain, Jonas said quietly, they've learned something important today. Yes, Mira replied. They've learned that we are not an easy target. That will make them more cautious but also more determined. The comms panel lit up. An incoming message from the Eternal Spear. Mira signaled to open the channel. The image of Admiral Torvik filled the screen. His face was stern, eyes sharp, his voice carrying a heavy authority. Captain Mira of the human ship, you have demonstrated skill and strength. The Empire does not welcome uninvited warships in its territory. You will follow us to the nearest Imperial station for inspection. Mira held his gaze. We did not enter your space by choice, Admiral. Our navigation systems failed during a jump. We will not surrender our ship to foreign control. We are willing to discuss terms, but we will not be escorted under threat. Torvak's eyes narrowed. Then you leave us no choice. The channel closed. Immediately, Imperial ships adjusted formation, tightening the net around the Iron Will. Raylan, watching from his patrol ship, felt a knot in his stomach. The next few minutes could decide whether this encounter ended in diplomacy or in fire. That could spread across the galaxy. On the Iron Will, Mira spoke to her crew. We hold position. If they force us, we break through. Set engines to rapid. Burn readiness. Keep weapons cold unless we must defend ourselves. The void between the fleets was still for now, but every officer on both sides knew it was the stillness before something great and dangerous moved. The uneasy standoff had begun, and neither the Empire nor the humans would step back easily. The standoff between the Iron Will and the Imperial fleet dragged on for hours. Neither side fired, but both remained locked in position, weapons ready. It was the kind of silence that could end with a single wrong word. On the Iron Will's bridge, Captain Mira stood beside the central console while Jonas worked at the sensor station. The data coming in was steady, but Mira's mind was elsewhere. Something about the word Empire kept pulling at her thoughts. Jonas, she said, how much do we really know about the Galactic Empire from the old archives? He glanced up. Not much that's complete. The records we have are fragments from before the Great Exodus. We know the Empire was the largest known power at the time and that it fought against humanity. In the War of Expansion, the Empire claimed humans were too aggressive and independent to be trusted. The war lasted decades before our ancestors fled to unknown regions. Lena, the communications officer, turned in her seat. The Empire's history books must have their own version of that story. I wonder how different it is from ours. Very different, I suspect, Mira said. Victors like to write their own truths. Jonas returned his focus to the sensors, but his voice carried weight. Captain, if they think humans were destroyed, then our appearance here is going to change more than just military plans. It could shake their political control. Imagine if their worlds learned that we survived. Mira nodded. That was her concern as well. The Empire was built on control, and control often depended on keeping old enemies erased from memory. The return of humans could inspire hope among the oppressed or fear among the rulers. Across the void, on the Eternal Spear, Admiral Torvik was in his private ready room. The reports from Raylan's patrol and from his own scanners were spread. Across his desk, the ship's historian, a pale and quiet man named Relos, stood nearby. "You know something about this, don't you?" Torvik asked. Relos adjusted his data tablet. "Yes, Admiral. I have read the preserved Imperial accounts of the War of Expansion. It began over 1,000 years ago, when humans refused to join the early Empire. They were skilled and unconventional warfare and adapted quickly to new technology. It took the Empire decades to wear them down. The final campaign destroyed their major colonies and fleet. Officially, no human ships survived." Torvik narrowed his eyes. "Officially, yes," Relos said carefully. "But there were rumors unconfirmed of human vessels escaping into deep space. The early Empire decided not to pursue them, believing they could not survive without established trade routes." Torvik leaned back. "And yet here one stands, larger, stronger, and faster than our cruisers. If they rebuild in secret for centuries, their technology may have surpassed ours in key areas." Relos looked uneasy. If the people learned the humans survived, it could ignite unrest. Many subject worlds already resent Imperial rule. The humans were known for their defiance. Some might see them as a symbol of resistance. Torvik's voice was firm. "Then we cannot allow that symbol to spread uncontrolled. We will either bring them under Imperial authority or remove them entirely." On the Iron Will, Mira had decided to dig deeper into the ship's data cores. She called up the oldest archives, once copied directly from the Ark fleet that had carried her ancestors away from the war. The records were fragile, some corrupted by age, but certain entries remained clear. One file in particular caught her attention. It was a voice log from an unknown human admiral during the final days of the war. "This is Admiral Cern of the last human fleet. The Empire has destroyed our colonies and taken the outer systems. We cannot hold the core worlds. We will retreat into uncharted space, carrying what knowledge and strength we have left. We will endure, no matter how long it takes to return." The message ended, but the tone stayed with Mira. Those words were a promise her people had kept for more than 1,000 years without even knowing it. Lena spoke softly. "Captain, if they find out we are descendants of that fleet, the Empire may see us as unfinished business. They might try to finish what they started." "They will," Mira said. "That is why we must be careful. We cannot let them take us or follow us back to our colonies." Jonas turned from his console. "Then we need an exit plan. If they decide to attack, we have to be ready to break through their line." Mira agreed. But she also knew leaving without understanding their intentions could be dangerous. If the Empire decided humans were a threat, they would hunt them relentlessly. Back aboard the Eternal Spear, Torvik was preparing his next move. He ordered his officers to analyze the human ship's combat data from the earlier skirmish. The results were troubling. Iron Will's railguns tracked faster than any Imperial system, and its shields absorbed more damage per energy unit than Imperial models. Torvik stood on the bridge again and sent a direct message to Mira. "Captain, you carry the name of a race long thought gone. The Empire wishes to know the truth of your origins. If you refuse, we will take that truth by force." Mira listened to the translation, her expression calm. "Admiral, my people left these regions long ago to escape Imperial aggression. We have no desire for war, but we will defend ourselves. If you value peace, you will let us leave." Torvik gave a small, cold smile. "Peace is built on control, Captain. Without control, there's only chaos." The channel closed. Mira could feel the weight of his words. He was not negotiating. He was warning her that in his view, the Empire's authority was absolute, and anything outside it was unacceptable. Jonas spoke in a low voice. "He will not let us go." "No." Mira agreed. "He will not." Her mind was already working through possibilities. She needed a way to learn more about the Empire's current state without letting them capture her. A risk formed in her thoughts, dangerous, but perhaps worth taking. Jonas, plot a short jump to the nearest asteroid field, somewhere with enough cover to shake them if they follow. Lena, keep monitoring their communications. I want to know if they call for more ships, as the crew prepared. Mira glanced once more at the old recording of Admiral Saren's promise. The past was not gone. It was here, alive in her ship and her crew. And if the Empire wanted to erase it again, they would have to fight harder than they ever had before. The silent standoff was about to end, replaced by movement, choices, and consequences that neither side could fully predict. The giant human warship stood like a wall of steel in the middle of space. The enemy fleets had been scattered and broken after hours of fighting, but the Galactic Empire still sent wave after wave of ships. Commander Rain stood on the bridge of the Iron Will, his eyes fixed on the holographic map. Red enemy markers still filled the screen, but there were fewer than before. His crew worked fast, shouting status reports as the battle raged on. Front. Shields holding at 60%, said Mira, the defense officer. Her hands moved quickly over the console, redirecting power to the front arc. They are focusing fire on our forward section. Good, Rain replied. That means they are desperate. Keep their attention on us. The ship shook as another volley of plasma rounds slammed into its hull. Sparks flew from a nearby console, and an engineer quickly pulled the damaged panel away, replacing it with a fresh one. The Iron Will was built for endurance, and every part of it had been designed to keep fighting even under the heaviest fire across the sector. Smaller human support ships moved in a coordinated dance. They darted between enemy cruisers, striking weak spots and retreating before the bigger ships could respond. It was clear that humans were fighting not with sheer numbers, but with precision and strategy. Ray and watched the enemy formation change. The Empire was gathering their largest ships together in one place. It was a dangerous move, but it also meant they were planning something big. Helm, keep us at full distance, he ordered. They are grouping for a heavy strike. We need to be ready. The enemy flagship, a massive golden dreadnought, entered the battle zone. Its size was almost equal to the Iron Will, but it carried more weapons than any other ship in the Empire's fleet. The holographic display marked it with a deep crimson icon. The crew felt the weight of its presence, but none of them spoke of fear. They had seen the strength of human technology, and they believed in their commander. The dreadnought fired first. A blinding beam of energy cut through space, aimed directly at the Iron Will. Mira reacted instantly, shifting shield power to maximum. In the beam's path, the impact was immense, shaking the entire ship and throwing several crew members to the floor. Lights flickered, and for a moment the bridge was filled with the smell of burning metal. Shields down to 30%. Mira called out, hull integrity holding. Rain stood firm. Return fire. Full barrage. Aim for their forward gun banks. The Iron Will unleashed its own power. Rail cannons, missile pods, and plasma batteries roared in unison. The rounds tore into the dreadnought's armor, breaking off huge fragments of golden plating. Still, the enemy ship held its position and fired again. The fight between the two giants became the center of the battle. Other ships moved away, not wanting to be caught in the crossfire. The Iron Will and the Imperial Dreadnought traded blows, each at sending shock waves through space. Meanwhile, Captain Lena of the Falcon's Wing, one of the smaller human ships, saw an opportunity. She opened a channel to Rain. Commander, we can flank them if we strike from behind. We can disable their engines. Rain considered it for a moment. Do it, Captain. But be fast. They will react. The moment they detect you. The Falcon's Wing accelerated, weaving through enemy fire. It came up behind the dreadnought and fired a concentrated burst of torpedoes at its rear. The torpedoes exploded against the ship's engine section, sending ripples of fire and debris into space. The dreadnought slowed. This was the chance Rain needed. All weapons, target their bridge. End this now. Every gun on the Iron Will turned toward the weakened dreadnought. The final barrage hit with brutal precision. The enemy flagship shuddered, then split apart in a blinding explosion. The shockwave pushed nearby ships away, and the Empire's fleet began to fall into disarray. The destruction of their flagship broke the morale of the Imperial forces. Many of their ships began to retreat, their commanders unwilling to face the human warship without their strongest protector. The humans did not chase them far. Rand knew this battle was not yet the war's end. "Stand down," he said calmly. "Let them run. We have done enough for today." The crew cheered. But Rand's expression remained serious. He looked at the battlefield wreckage. Drifting bodies and armor, shattered hulls. Victory had a price, and he knew the Empire would not forget this day. They would return, stronger and more prepared. Mira stepped up beside him. "Commander, what now?" Rand answered without looking away from the stars. "Now we prepare for their next move, because when they come again, we will be ready." The bridge fell quiet as the iron will slowly turned and began the journey back toward human territory. But in the minds of the crew, one thought was clear: the humans had proven they could stand against the Galactic Empire, and they would keep fighting until the war was over. The aftermath of the battle at Drellian Belt was felt across the vast territories of the Galactic Empire. News of the human warship's overwhelming strength had spread quickly, stirring unease among the Empire's leaders and alien worlds alike. On board the Iron Will, Captain Mira and her officers watched the silent stars, knowing that this was only the beginning. In the high halls of the Imperial capital, Admiral Torvik paced before a large tactical table filled with star charts and reports. His face was tense, his usual confidence shaken by the unexpected resilience of the humans. Around him, Imperial officials whispered and debated the best course of action. "The humans have shown us their power," Torvik said, his voice low, but firm. "We cannot ignore this threat. It is time to bring our full might against them." An advisor spoke carefully. "Admiral, the humans are not just a military threat. Their return has inspired unrest among many subject worlds. Some see them as a symbol of hope, a chance to break free from Imperial control." Torvik's eyes narrowed. "Symbols do not win wars. We will crush this threat before it grows." Back in space, the Iron Will prepared to move towards safer regions. But Captain Mira was aware that the Empire's forces would soon follow. She gathered her senior officers in the ship's strategy room. "We cannot keep running," Mira said. "The Empire will not stop until they have us under their control or destroyed." Jonas, the tactical officer, nodded. "They will send bigger fleets. We need allies and information." Lena, the communications expert, added. "There are many alien worlds under Imperial rule that might welcome change. If we could reach them, we might gain support." Mira considered the possibilities. "Our first step is to send a message broadcasted across Imperial space. Let them know humans have returned, not for war, but for balance." The crew worked quickly, preparing the transmission. When it was ready, Mira activated the ship's long-range broadcast system. The message was simple and clear. It spoke of humanity's survival, their wish for peace, and a warning that they would defend themselves if attacked. It invited all who felt oppressed to join a new future. As the message spread through the vast networks of the Empire, reactions came swiftly. Some alien worlds listened with hope, while others feared the disruption it might bring. On a remote mining colony, a small group of aliens gathered around a terminal, watching the human message. A leader spoke quietly. "If these humans can stand against the Empire, maybe we can too." In another sector, Imperial commanders reviewed the transmission with anger. "This is sedition." One officer said, "We must silence them, Admiral." Torvik, watching these responses, understood the risk. The Empire's control was fragile, and the humans had become a spark that might ignite rebellion. He ordered the deployment of the Empire's largest battleship, the Eternal Spear. Its rival was meant to intimidate and crush human resistance quickly. Meanwhile, Mira knew the Iron Will could not face such a giant alone. She sent envoys to nearby alien factions who resented Imperial rule, seeking alliances. Some answered cautiously, offering supplies or information. Others stayed silent. The stage was set for a greater conflict, not only of weapons, but of wills and hopes. Humans, once thought lost, were now back. The Empire faced a choice: to accept change or to fight for its fading power. Mira stood on her bridge, looking toward the stars. "We fight not to conquer, but to survive, and to show that even against the greatest empire, courage and hope can make a difference." Her crew nodded. The coming days would test them all, but they were ready. The Iron will move steadily through the cold darkness of space, its crew alert and ready. Ahead, the massive shape of the Imperial battleship Eternal Spear grew larger on the sensors. Its golden arm reflected the light of distant stars, a symbol of the Empire's strength and pride. Captain Mira stood on the bridge, calm but determined. The time for diplomacy was over, now. The fate of her people and countless others depended on the battle to come. Prepare all systems. Mira ordered. Weapons to full power, shields at maximum. Her officers moved quickly. The ship thrummed with energy, engines warming, railguns charging, and missile bays opening. Every crew member knew what was at stake. Commander Rayan, her second in command, stood beside her. They outnumber us and outgun us, but our technology and strategy give us a chance. Mira nodded. We fight smarter, not just harder. The Eternal Spear opened communications. Admiral Torvak's face appeared on the main screen, stern and unyielding. This is your last chance, Captain Mira, Torvak said. Surrender your ship and crew. Join the Empire or face destruction. Mira held his gaze. The Empire's reign is built on fear. We fight for freedom. We will never surrender. The channel closed. Seconds later, the first volley of plasma bolt streaked across space toward the Iron Will. Mira gripped the console. Shields up. Evasive maneuvers. The Iron Will danced through the enemy fire, its sleek design allowing quick turns and sudden bursts of speed. Railguns fired back, striking enemy cruisers, protecting the Eternal Spear. The battle was fierce. The Eternal Spear unleashed wave after wave of fighters and missiles. The human ship's defenses held, but the pressure was relentless. Jonas reported from the tactical station. Shields at 70%. Enemy fighters breaking formation. Lena tracked incoming missiles. 5 torpedoes inbound on the starboard side. Deploy countermeasures. Mira commanded. Explosive decoys shot into space, drawing missiles away. The crew worked in perfect harmony, each playing their part, despite the Empire's might. The humans' resolve and skill kept them alive. The Iron Will struck key targets, disabling enemy turrets and engines. Then came the turning point, a well-aimed strike from the human ship hit the Eternal Spear's forward shield generator. The shield flickered and failed, exposing the battleship's hull. Now, Mira shouted, focus fire on their bridge and weapons. The crew unleashed a torrent of fire. Explosions rocked the Eternal Spear, and its massive form began to break apart. The Empire's flagship was falling. On the bridge of the Iron Will, cheers rose. But Mira stayed focused. Keep shields up. They may have backups. The Eternal Spear fired a desperate final blast. But it was too late. The Iron Will evaded and returned fire, ending the battle. The silence that followed was heavy. Both sides had suffered losses, but the humans had won a victory that no one expected. Captain Mira addressed her crew. Today, we have shown that courage, unity, and hope can stand against the greatest empire. We fight not just for ourselves, but for all who dream of freedom. As the wreckage of the Eternal Spear drifted away, the galaxy began to change. The return of humanity was no longer a secret. Far beyond the battlefield, whispers of a new era spread, a time when the lost would rise and even the mighty could fall.